Okay, so now we're going to learn about multiplication and division using integers. So here are some important rules for multiplying and dividing integers. It says when you multiply or divide integers with the same sign, the result will always be positive. When you multiply or divide integers with different signs, the results will always be negative. So this rule is saying if you multiply a number that's positive times a negative, you'll get a negative. For this rule, if the signs are the same, so if you have a positive times a positive, it's going to equal a positive. If you have a negative times a negative, it's still going to equal a positive. And here's this cool tic-tac-toe chart that's going to help you. So, I want you to always remember is you start in the left corner and all the pluses go diagonal. Now all the rest of these spaces are negatives. So if you remember where the positives go, you just fill in the rest with negatives. Positives go diagonal from left to right and then fill in your negatives. And what this chart means is when you have a positive times a negative, it equals negative. If you have a negative times a positive, it equals negative. If you have a negative times a negative, it equals a positive. Or if you have a positive times a positive, it equals a positive. And we're going to use this chart to help us multiply and divide positive and negative numbers. So here's some of our problems, and we don't have our chart here, so I'm going to make it really quick to help me. So remember, it goes pluses diagonal from left to right, and wherever I don't have a plus now is a minus. And you don't need to draw this chart, it's just because I don't have it on my paper, like you have it on yours. So we have 2 times 8. 2 times 8 is 16. Now the first thing we do whenever we multiply numbers with positive and negatives is we're going to multiply or divide like we normally do. So we will do 2 times 8. And then we'll think about the signs and decide what kind of sign we'll use. So this one is just normal multiplication. Next we'll do 2 times negative 8. So we do 2 times 8 first. So 2 times 8 is 16. And now we look at our signs. So we have a positive times a negative. So we're going to go to our chart. We have a positive times a negative equals a negative. So our answer is going to be negative 16. Now we have negative 2 times 8. This time, we'll have negative 2 times 8. 2 times 8 is 16. We'll go to our chart. We have a negative and a positive. So negative times a positive equals negative. So it'll also be negative 16. Now don't get tricked. We have 2 times 8, which we know is 16, and we have a negative times a negative. A negative times a negative equals a positive. So we have positive 16. Now we have 16 times 2, or 16 times negative 2. 16 times 2 is 32, and we have a positive times a negative. Positive times a negative equals negative. So it's negative 32. Let's do one more together before you practice. So we have negative 4 times negative 4. So we do 4 times 4, which is 16, and we'll think of our signs. So we have a negative times a negative. Negative times a negative equals a positive, so it's a positive 16. I want you to go ahead and do 7, 8. Yeah, let's just do 7 and 8 by yourself, and then you'll go ahead and hit play. Please pause the video. Okay, let's check our answers. We have 12 times 3. 12 times 3 is 36. We need to check our sign. We have a negative times negative. Negative times negative equals a positive, so we'll have a positive 36. Number 8, we have negative 6 times 2. Negative 6, or 6 times 2 is 12, and we have a negative times a positive. A negative times a positive equals a negative, so we have a negative 12. Now let's look at number 9. Number 9 has 3 problems, and I don't want you to get tricked whenever we are doing problems like this. You always work from left to right unless there's parentheses telling you otherwise. So we're going to multiply our first two numbers together. So we have 8 times 6. 8 times 6 is 48. We're going to bring down that negative 2. Now we need to multiply 48 times negative 2. 48 times 2 is 96. We have a positive times a negative. A positive times a negative equals negative. So our answer is negative 96. Okay, let's do one more like this together. So we have negative 4 times 5 times negative 2. We start from the left to right. So we have negative 4 times 5. 4 times 5 is 20. We have a negative and a positive. A negative and a positive equals a negative. So we have negative 20 times negative 2. So negative 20 times negative 2. 20 times 2 is 40. And a negative times negative is a positive. So our answer is just 40. I want you to do 11 and 12 by yourself. And when you are completed, go ahead and hit play. Please pause the video. Okay, let's do number 11. So we start from left to right. So we have negative 2 times 3. So what's 2 times 3? That's 6. And it's a negative times a positive. Negative times a positive is negative. So we have negative 6 times 5. Now we have to do multiplication like we normally do. So 6 times 5 is 30. And we have to figure out our sign. So we have a negative times a positive, and that's a negative. So our answer is negative 30. Then we have number 12. We have 4 times negative 1. 4 times negative 1 is 4. We have a positive times negative, which is a negative. We're going to bring down that 3. Negative 4 times 3. 4 times 3 is 12. We need to figure out our sign. A negative times a positive is a negative. So our answer is negative 12. Okay, I want you to go ahead and pause the video, and you are going to practice 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 by yourself. Okay, these are your answers, so you can check them. Now we're going to do some models. So each one of these boxes represent a part of our model. We have the arrows, which are the arrows above our numbers. The increments, which is like the number of hops our arrows are, or the number of spaces between our 0 and the number we're talking about. Then our product's going to be our answer, so where our model stops. So let's count up the number of arrows we have on this model. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So our number of arrows is 6, and we're going to write that in our box. So we have 6. And now we need to count our increments. So the distance or the number of spaces our 0 is, or our arrow is. So we have 1, 2. So our increment is 2. But think, we're going to the left. When we go to the left, that means that we're going negative. When we go to the right, that means positive. So our answer is going, our increment is actually negative 2. So we have 6 times negative 2. Well, 6 times 2 is 12. And a positive times a negative is a negative. You also see where we stopped on our number line. We stopped at negative 12. Okay, let's do another one. Again, we have our arrows and our increments, and that our increments are a number of spaces that we are from 0. So how many arrows do we have? We have 1, 2, 3, 4 arrows. Now we need to figure out our increments. We have 1, 2, 3, 4. We need to think, are we going to the left or are we going to the right? Well, since we're going to the left, our increments are negative, because left means negative. So we have 4 times negative 4. Well, 4 times 4 we know is 16. And a positive times a negative is a negative. So our answer is negative 16. And look where we stopped on our model. Negative 16. Okay, now I want you to do this one on your own. But I want you to think about the increments we have here. We have 0 and then we have 5. There are little dashes in between here. This is 1, 2, 3, and 4 all in here. So you need to make sure you count all the spaces between 5. All the spaces between 5 and 10. That will be your increments. Okay, so first thing we do is count our arrows. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So our first number is 6. And then we're going to multiply by our increments. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we have 5, and we're going to the right, which means we are positive. So we have 4 times 5, and that is 30. Notice where we stopped on our model. Now we're going to do the model backwards. This time I'm going to give you the problem, and you need to set up your model. So you have a number line given to you, and you need to think about your increments. Our increments are 3, meaning we can start at 0 on our number line and count by 3. So our first number will be 3. Well, 3 plus 3 is 6. 6 plus 3 is 9. 9 plus 3 is 12. 12 plus 3 is 15. 15 plus 3 is 18. And 18 plus 3 is 21. So that'll be our increments. And now we just need to draw our arrows. We need 5 arrows. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So here's our model, and remember our model will show us our answer. So where did we land? On 15. So 5 times 3 is 15. Our next problem is 4 times negative 2. Remember, this is our arrows, and this number is our increments, the number of hops we have. So I want you to start here at 0, and we'll do negative 2, negative 4, negative 8, negative 6, negative 8, and negative 10. This time I want you to go ahead and mark your increments. Think that we are going in a negative direction, and which way we'll go, to the right or to the left. And go ahead and hit play whenever you're done making your model. Please pause the video. Okay, so let's make our model. Our increments are 2, so we're going from 0 to 2 because we counted by 2s, and we're doing 4 arrows. We have 1, 2, 3, 4. We landed on negative 8. So 4 times negative 2 is negative 8. A positive times a negative is a negative. Okie dokie. So now we're going to talk about division problems. And we use the same chart as we do for multiplication for division. Our positives are all diagonal, and then the rest of the chart are negatives. So if we have a positive divided by a negative, it's negative. If we have a negative divided by a positive, it's a negative, and a negative divided by a negative is a positive. So we have 8 divided by 2. 8 divided by 2 is 4. It's a positive divided by a positive, which gets you a positive. Now we have 8 divided by 2 again, which we know is 4, but we need to think of our signs. We have a positive divided by a negative. A positive divided by a negative will get you a negative. 8 divided by 2 again, we know is 4. We have a negative divided by a positive. A negative divided by a positive gets you a negative. Again, negative 8 divided by negative 2. 8 divided by 2 is 4. We have a negative divided by a negative. Negative divided by a negative is a positive, so we have a positive 4 this time. For number 5, we have negative 14 divided by 2. We need to just think of 14 divided by 2, which is 7. And then we need to think of our sign. We have a negative divided by a positive. The negative divided by a positive is a negative. Okay, number 6. 30 divided by negative 6. What's 30 divided by 6? That's 5. And we have a positive divided by a negative. Positive divided by negative is negative. Okay, I would like you to go ahead and pause the video at this point and go ahead and solve 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12 by yourself. If you have any questions, please raise your hand and ask. Okay, we have negative 45 divided by 3, which is 15, and it is negative because a negative divided by a positive is negative. Negative 25 divided by 5, it's a negative divided by a positive. Negative divided by a positive gets you a negative. 63 divided by negative 7. 63 divided by 7 is 9. A positive divided by a negative is negative. Negative 48 divided by negative 6. We have 48 divided by 6 is 8. And a negative divided by a negative is a positive. We have 144 divided by 12. 144 divided by 12 is 12, and a negative divided by a negative is a positive. And our last one is 55 divided by 11 is 5, and a positive divided by a negative is a negative. Okay, I want you to go ahead and do these 4 problems on your own. Be careful of the signs and think of that chart we used. Go ahead and hit play when you're ready. Please pause the video. Okay, we have 8 divided by 2, and that's 4. 8 divided by negative 2. Well, 8 divided by 2 is still 4. 8 divided by negative 2 is a positive, divided by a negative is a negative. Negative 8 divided by 2, we'll still do 8 divided by 2, which is 4. Well, the negative divided by a positive is a negative. And negative 8 divided by negative 2. 8 divided by 2 is 4. And a negative divided by a negative is a positive. So we have a positive 4.